Hello, everyone. Aryanna Prasad. I'm here with Ashmere Prasad, no relation. As we say every week, we're just two good friends, so we're here to talk about football with this week's Sunday slate. And I know it's Wednesday, and so much is going on in the basketball world, but we're going to bring you back to football because there's still a lot to talk about from this super wild card weekend that was truly wild. So, yeah, let's get into it. But Ashmere, how are you doing today? How are you feeling about that basketball news?
Oh, I don't know. It kind of threw off my day. I'm not going to lie. I didn't imagine that Harden was going to get away with his wishes, but I think I did imagine it with like a small little piece of me in my soul. I didn't know he wanted to be reunited with KD that badly. I thought it was just like an excuse to get out of Houston, which like anybody wants to go somewhere else after the time that he's spent there and nothing's changed. So I'm going to be surprised with this season and how it's carrying out, especially the COVID numbers. Everybody thought things were going to be different in the NBA compared to the NFL, but it's inevitable that a team is going to get a lot of numbers and then it's just going to spread. So there's a lot happening in the NBA.
Happening, and we're anticipating an outbreak, I guess. But for those of you who don't know, James Harden has been pushing to leave the Houston Rockets, and they actually just finalized a trade today with the Brooklyn Nets, so he'll be joining them soon. And he's on my fantasy basketball team, so I hope that this goes well for my sake and for James Harden's sake and for everyone's sake. But that's going on. But this week there was a surprise from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Washington football team wild card game. But it wasn't necessarily a surprise in who won. A lot of people expected Tampa Bay to win. The surprise was the level of play from Washington football quarterback Taylor HEINICKE. He was amazing. So the Bucs won the game. It was 31-23. It was a lot closer than people expected. Alex Smith was out with a calf injury, so HEINICKE stepped in. And Ashmere, can you tell me a little bit about who HEINICKE is and where he came from?
Yeah, so HEINICKE was an undrafted guy back in 2015, signed with the Vikings, got let go there, signed with the Patriots for a short time in 2017, got let go there, eventually ended up in Carolina with the one and only Ron Rivera. So I thought it was a nice circle of events for him. I think that you get a time to shine when you're behind a superstar, as Cam was in 2018, and for him to come here and replace somebody that wasn't not doing well, is just injured, and they need someone to fill the spot of Alex Smith. And HEINICKE did so very well in that game. And he played a couple games in 2018 with the Panthers, and then, eventually was dropped and signed off the waivers with the Washington football team. So he has seen a lot of different offensive teams. He's been with some good QBs, and now here he was taking on the GOAT, the king of all kings, Ariana's favorite football player in the entire world. And he did a stellar job. I mean, when you watch the film on that guy, like the playmaking decisions he did was just like so great. And he was beat up. When you're playing a football game, you want to see the jerseys get dirty when they're wearing white jerseys, especially. That guy had his shoulder dropping. Like, he had to go to the locker room. He was playing so well. And it was unfortunate that towards the end of the game, I don't think it was that he ran out of gas. I think it was just the little mistakes that caught up with, some blocking on offensive calls and things like that helped Tampa Bay essentially win that game. But HEINICKE did fantastic.
I completely agree. And I just want to point out, we did see during wildcard weekend, as we see every year in the playoffs, it's tough for rookies or anyone it's their first time in the playoffs. The playoffs, they hit different, okay? We saw people just dropping passes they should have made. I think that was the biggest thing from receivers. But yeah, there were a lot of those moments. So that's the amazing thing about HEINICKE is not only is he just coming in and starting now for Washington, but it was in the playoffs. It was really in the biggest game of the season. So I just want to say that I feel like Washington finished really strong, and this was such a strong finish for them for the season. But I want to pull up some stats. So this is Tom Brady. Guys, I got to say he's the GOAT. He did pretty well. 381 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. That's incredible. But I want to point out HEINICKE also did really well, okay? And these are his stats. 26 out of 44 passes, 306 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 2 sacks. So that is still very incredible, as we said. And he actually got a lot of notice from other legends in the NFL. So our modern-day legend, Patrick Mahomes, regardless of the outcome. What a great game by Heineke. All right, we have to agree. But I think that this is the coolest one, all right? No offense to Mahomes. This is from Joe Theismann. My hat's off to Taylor. You made us proud. Now, for those of you who don't know who Joe Theismann is, he is actually a legendary Washington quarterback back in the day. And he actually, it's an interesting story. His story runs a little bit parallel to Alex Smith. Back in the 80s, he got hit by Lawrence Taylor and injured and was out for his whole career. But yeah, it was actually on the exact same day, decades before, that Alex Smith got his injury, and they were both Washington quarterbacks. This is a little interesting fact, but anyway, Theismann congratulated Taylor, and just to hear that from some legends, you know, talent recognizes talent. So I'm happy about that. I'm glad that Heineke got his due.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I just think coming out onto a stage like this against Tom Brady, against this amazing offense, against a team who is projected to head to the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes and that stellar Chiefs offense, I think the way that he was playing gave the Washington football team a glimmer of hope. And I also think it puts him in a contention for a quarterback position, whether Alex Smith decides to come back or not. I think Heineke is somebody that they should put a lot of time and effort into, and I think he can help. I know that he put 150% in, and some people say that that can affect him long term. You know, you can't play every game with that much energy because you're going to eventually get beat up and beat down. But I do think if that was like a tryout, he killed it. So
yeah, I completely agree, and we'll definitely see more of him in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but I have to ask, are you ready, kids?
Aye, Captain.
I can't hear you.
Aye, Captain.
Oh, who lives in Chicago and won MVP? Mitch Trubisky. All right, we tried to coordinate that as best we could just to bring back the SpongeBob reference. But in case you missed it, the Saints and Chicago Bears game, for the first time, it was simultaneously broadcast on Nickelodeon. And it was definitely a fun watch, if not a little bit distracting. But we just had the best memes come out of it, okay? And guys, I mean, poor Mitch Trubisky. I mean, everybody just came for him. It's a little bit his fault, yes, but I also feel a little bad for the guy, all right? Drowned in slime, all right? Hey, Patrick, what am I? Trash? No, I'm Mitch Trubisky. What's the difference? All right, I just got to go through these, show you guys the great stuff I found. This is Matt Nagy's playbook, tweeted by CBS, which is pretty funny. So, no to the pass, right? All right, so I'll get into it. Let me explain a little bit. So there was voting, as there is with so many like award shows and everything. So instead of MVP, it was NVP. That I think was a Nickelodeon value player. Okay, so there were a few players in the running, and Mitch Trubisky, by popular vote, won the award. So someone made this graphic for him, you know, congratulations. Because poor Mitch Trubisky, he was the #1 overall pick in 2018, and that's actually the same draft as Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. So a lot of people say, hey, they kind of messed up. But you know what, guys? He has a trophy. I mean, sure, Deshaun Watson has a national championship, and Mahomes has a Lombardi, but he is the MVP, okay? So I mean, come on, how many QBs can say that? But this is from one of our past guests, Pablo Iglesias tweeted this. So someone went back on Wikipedia and added the award, making sure that Trubisky gets his due, okay? Epic. But we're imagining that this is actually how he feels about getting this award. So we're laughing and everything, but this was actually a huge thing for the NFL and Nickelodeon because that broadcast actually drew 2 million viewers. So, and I read that that's actually the biggest broadcast that they've had since 2018. So a good thing for Nick, a good thing for the NFL. Oh, let me show you some videos. There was actually a few more awesome things that happened.
Today, Breeze over the middle. It's Thomas. He dances his way into the end zone. New Orleans is on the board first.
There we go with the slide cannons. Hey, that is epic.
So those are some
slime cannons. I love those.
Slime cannons. Guys, I feel like this broadcast was made for us, our generation, for millennials, okay? Like, I'm wondering what kids now are watching. I talk to my nieces. They don't know who SpongeBob is. Like, this is for us, okay? We grew up on SpongeBob.
Yeah, totally.
All the memes there. Like, that's all us, guys. And I would love to see it on Nickel. That used to be my favorite channel. But I do want to add, okay, in case you were wondering, the winning coach the New Orleans Saints coach, Sean Payton, he did not get Gatorade this game. He got slimed.
Wild card win on Nickelodeon this week. Ah!
So I think everyone was having fun. Ashmere, how did you feel about Nick in this game, and do you want to see it happen more?
Nickelodeon, yeah, I loved it there. I am not gonna lie, the commentary, I know it was made for younger audience, so it was very cool to see Sheldon pop up, give you a little explanation of what an offsides was, and explaining to the younger generation the different things in football. But I think if the commentary changed, I would for sure watch it on Nickelodeon again. I loved all the effects. It just gave you a little charisma, gave you like a little excitement, something else than just the regular television screen. Because when I would toggle between CBS and Nickelodeon, it was just, there's SpongeBob in the end zone posts, like just all these little things that made it cool to watch. So I liked it. I thought it'd be fun. It would be fun to have another team, like another playoff matchup like that explained. And yeah, as you said, it was targeted for us. It was made for the 90s children and for all of us that are working from home and need some type of nostalgic thing, because everybody plays off nostalgia in this world. That's where the cash comes from. So
yeah, I definitely think it was the right decision, and they pulled 2 million viewers, so somebody was watching, right?
I know my entire fantasy group chat was watching, so all the guys that I talked to frequently were watching it. They were like, I probably will never watch football the same. Like, this was so exciting. So that's 10 guys right there.
Yeah, I know. I loved it, and I think what they were able to do was really fun. But now we're going to move on to our next game. So this is our segment, Who Do You Love? And this week, it's not necessarily who we love, although there's a few people, but it's more what we love. And we actually love a dish that they say is best served cold, and that is revenge. So revenge was the storyline in the NFL this week. And yeah, I think the biggest game, I'm just going to show you a video of what happened, okay? But I think one team got the ultimate revenge over the other for something they did earlier in the season.
Tannehill steps and fires, and it's intercepted. It's Marcus Peters who makes the play for the Ravens. The ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage, fluttered, and it's Peters who makes the big defensive play for the Ravens. No.
Marcus Peters took off. The Ravens won the game. They're advancing in the playoffs, and they finally got revenge over the Tennessee Titans because, in case you missed it, earlier in the season, the Tennessee Titans made the Ravens logo their stomping ground. So, Ashmere, I love it. I love to see the revenge games. I love to see that fiery passion. But what did you think about this logo retaliation?
I was really torn because I do enjoy Lamar Jackson. I enjoy revenge games, as you said, but I was rooting for Tannehill and the Titans at the same time. I love A.J. Brown. You got to love Derrick Henry and this amazing season that he's having. So it was like really hard to pick. Oh, they scored. I didn't know who I was rooting for. But once that play happened, I was like, you know what? Ravens are here and they're playing hard and they're going to keep winning. I hope. But yeah, I think this really showed how hard the team's been working, right? They had to overcome a bunch of COVID cases, play with RG3, like just, they came through a lot this year. And so did the Titans. They had their own COVID scare as well. This season has actually been really long if you think about how many COVID breaks we went through, right? And like Wednesday games and Tuesday games and weird situations that they had to do. But yeah, overall, Ravens came in and they came in hard. They wanted this,
Yeah, and thinking back to last year, actually, they were one and done in the playoffs, and that was Lamar Jackson's MVP season. He's hot. Who's going to beat him? Nobody can. And the Tennessee Titans came, and it's like that was it. Yeah. So, but I do want to actually point out, Lamar Jackson did have an incredible game. So he had 16. This is just his rushing stats: 16 carries for 136 yards and a rushing touchdown, which is incredible for any running back. And I know the joke is, oh, Lamar Jackson, he's just another running back. No, he got his pass off too. But when we're looking at the stats, it's actually interesting because Lamar got 136. The team total was 236, meaning that 3 other running backs for the Ravens split 100 yards. So Lamar got the most yards, but that's who he is. And you know what? It worked. They won. But it's actually interesting when you compare it to Derrick Henry. Okay. So, you know, DH2K, he got 18 carries for 40 yards, but over that yards. An incredible season he just had. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like the table were a little bit flipped with the run game, no?
There had to be a choice that the Ravens defense needed to make, and that was to either stop the passing game or the running game. Not saying they're not capable of doing both, but the Titans are able to explode in two different ways, and that is what makes them such a stellar team to play against. You either mark A.J. Brown and Corey Davis and make sure that you get the sidelines, or Jonnu Smith or whoever is down the field, and let Derrick Henry run all over you, or versa, right? You stop Henry 2 yards, 4 yards, push him back -4 yards, and A.J. Brown gets a nice 15-yard catch, 1 touchdown pass, you know, which is what happened in this game. And so I think choosing to put Henry down was the better choice, because Lamar could use his legs in answer to Derrick Henry using his legs, you know? So playing off of that is really what led them to this game, and playing off Lamar's stellar playmaking skills, like play calling, play decisions. Like, the man is just on fire, and to see him take on another quarterback who loves to do the same thing is going to be exciting.
Definitely. Yeah, so I also want to point out, actually, that Ravens defense definitely deserves some credit. We did see that interception in the last few minutes of the game, but they held Tennessee to 10 points in the first quarter, and they actually didn't score again until the fourth quarter, and they only scored a field goal. So that's an incredible job by the Ravens defense, in addition to Lamar Jackson, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing this team advance in the playoffs. But that brings us to our next segment. While we're happy about that, there is something that I am mad about this week. Ashmere probably not so much.
What are you mad about?
All right, I am mad about how the Seattle Seahawks played this week. So they came in strong. They clinched the NFC West, all right, and then they faced off against the Rams. Now, that was definitely one of the harder teams that they could have played against, just because division rivals. The Rams actually have the #1 defense in the NFL, and it showed because Russell Wilson had his worst game of the season, and I'm going to show you those stats. 11 out of 27 passes for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 5 sacks. Russell, you were cooked. Why aren't you cooking anymore? It's over now, and I'm heartbroken. And I think I want to say that Seahawks fans saw this coming, but it was also still just like a gut punch, like just to see the momentum that the Seahawks had at the beginning of the season, historic passing numbers. Russell Wilson was doing so well, and he really was cooking. And everyone's saying, okay, the Seahawks are finally passing now. They're stepping away from the run game a little bit. But in this game, they couldn't get off the run, couldn't get off the pass, and it was just a complete failure, which is a shame because they're playing against a quarterback who had a broken thumb. But Ashmere, can you tell me a little bit about what the Rams did right this game?
I don't think people were against Seattle winning. Okay, I want you to take this to your heart. I think everybody chose Seattle to win this game because Goff was out, because they were playing with a backup quarterback, and then all of a sudden Wolford gets injured, has to go in an ambulance and go to the hospital because he may be concussed. He did return later to celebrate with the team, in case you were wondering. And Goff had to play, and you saw his throws. Okay, they couldn't depend on the passing game at all, 0%. So it was all thanks to Cam Akers and those legs that got them through. But other than that, the Seattle Seahawks were predicted to win because of the stellar offense that Russell has, and that Russell is in himself another running quarterback, as we all know, is literally dominating the league lately. So I think that was the main thing that the Rams were able to do correctly, was run the ball.
Yeah, definitely. So thinking about it, it's almost like, and we had talked about this a little bit before, but it was almost a competition of which offense was worse, is what this game felt like, like who could, just like bottom out before the others. So
it was kind of painful to watch. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, it was painful. I actually just I'm gonna be honest with you. I just was like so tired of it. I fell asleep like in the fourth quarter and woke up with like a minute left, and I was like, oh, screw this game. I'm done with it. Because guys, I covered the Seattle Seahawks. I wanted to keep covering them, and everything, came short. So, but this felt like a strong team, definitely. But just from this game, I feel like a lot of things came to light, that things that I was worried about throughout the season, not so much with the defense, but I did notice Russ's production has just dipped so much since week 9. So that is something that I was worried about. I can't say I'm too surprised. And I just like have a few memes, I guess, that I want to share with everyone.
Of your own team.
Of my own team. So this spoke to me. This is what I felt like happened. It just was so beautiful and drawn out. And then this is what happened. And then I also have something, I follow the It's Beast Pod. It's this cool blog out of Seattle. And they make some pretty funny articles. I love the sense of humor there. But I saw this headline. And you know what? I don't know if that's what happened this season, but it delves into all these stats about, you know, Russell. Ashmere, did you see?
No, I missed it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, everyone, let's go through this again. If this is the reason
I saw this.
So sorry, but if this is the reason that Seattle's production dipped, of course we're joking, but we're just wondering, like, Russ, what happened?
For any children, please turn
Oh
it
yeah,
on.
I'm not ready for work. But yeah, and that article draws through some data about, you know, when Russ is getting flirty on Twitter and everything in his production that week. Interesting stuff there. But anyway, we're sad to see Seattle go. At least I am. So that's what I'm mad about this week. But yeah, but we're actually going to move on to, I think, the biggest
One of the better games of the weekend.
Definitely. So I'm going to go through a little bit of history, and then we're going to bring in our special guest from that particular fan base. But all right, so the last time the Browns won a playoff game was in January 1995, back when Bill Belichick was still the coach, right? And the team that beat them was actually the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was 29-9, okay? So 1995, 25 years ago, that's how long ago that was when they won a playoff game. They made the playoffs again in January 2003. But they lost again in a close game to the Pittsburgh Steelers, as you guessed. So when the Browns faced off against the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, that was enough fuel for the fire. But they had a bunch of Steelers players that were actually talking so much smack. All right, so I don't know if you guys heard, but Juju Smith-Schuster, who's been dancing on TikTok, causing all kinds of trouble, he called the Browns nameless gray faces, okay? Just like, all right, they're anybody. And then this particular quote, "The Browns is the Browns," all right? And so this week, the Browns were the Browns, and they actually won this game. They killed. They finally beat the Steelers. It was the ultimate revenge game, and it was so beautiful. I have a few videos of the celebration that we're going to go through real quick. But yeah, we love to see it.
The man himself, baby.
Browns is the Browns.
The man himself, baby.
Browns is the Browns.
The man himself, baby.
Browns is the Browns.
The Browns is the Browns.
I posted that on my Instagram stories as well. I was like, don't you just love banter? I love banter. I love it.
Love the trash talk. And you know what? All the trash that they talked, they were celebrating,
Totally.
coordinating their dances. They really didn't take the Browns seriously at all. And guys, you cannot count out another team in the NFL. You stomp on a logo, it's going to happen to you. You beat someone, you talk smack. I actually, one instance, Chase Young said he was going to sack Tom Brady, did not get one sack on him. So, you know what? If you come for somebody, like, it'll come back. It'll come right back like a boomerang. All right, so you may have heard, obviously, that Juju Smith-Schuster was dancing to Corvette on everybody's logos. The Bengals weren't having it, and neither was Jarvis Landry.
What you say, Juice? Corvette, having a motherfucking jelly. Turn up, pussy. Turn up.
Sorry about that ending there. Disclaimer. But right now we're going to bring on our special guest, and he is from the Browns fan base, and that is Gabriel Kramer. He's a reporter and producer for IdeaStream in Cleveland. So Ohio born and raised, and very proud. And
very proud. Thanks for having me.
hey, how are you, Gabe?
I am doing very well. I'm still celebrating from Sunday, but so I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good win. I'm happy that it happened, certainly.
Ashmere, you mentioned that you had a bet this week with your mom.
Oh my gosh. Oh, we're starting with me. Okay. So this wasn't because I didn't believe in the Browns. Okay. First of all, I'm going to start this off with an apology to the Browns fan base, you, Gabriel, Baker Mayfield, because I did not believe in the entire organization. I just believed a little bit more in what Ben has been used to, and that is post-game play, postseason play, right? So that was what I was giving him, that veteran background. I thought, okay, he's going to put this away. It's whatever. My mom goes, dude, I'm rooting for Baker Mayfield all day. I'll bet you $15 they win. I'm like, okay. I almost bet her $50. I was like, I'll bet you 50. I'm so sure. And then they scored 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. And my mom goes, hey, you should just pay me right now.
Nice,
I was like, okay, Mom, you're right. Shoot. What, do you want to come on the show or what? So good job.
Shout out to your mom. I wish she was right here so she could pile on the trash talk.
Yeah. This weekend too. Well, she likes both teams, but I'm sure she's still going for Baker. Actually, she hates the Chiefs. Sorry. She hates the Chiefs. She's going for you.
Good. I'm glad to have her on my side. Plenty of room on this bandwagon.
I think a lot of people are actually joining on that bandwagon because I've just seen all over Twitter and just any fan base, everyone's happy for the Browns. They're the ultimate underdog, and we all love to see them succeed, right?
I like to think that America loves an underdog story. This nothing to something type team. I mean, if there's any team in American sports that's been through it, it's got to be the Cleveland Browns, right? I mean, the Cleveland Browns.
For sure.
I've seen this team lose on, 4th down drops, goal line fumbles. I saw this team lose because a linebacker threw his helmet because he thought the play was dead, threw in celebration, and then they called 15-yard penalty, and the Chiefs ended up winning with a game-winning field goal. So I've seen this team lose in such absurd, insane, crazy ways. And then I'm thinking, okay, here we go again. We got to play the Steelers. Another potential crazy way to lose. Our coach has caught the coronavirus. Some of our players, our best offensive lineman has a coronavirus. So we're going into this game, and I'm thinking, man, this is another sad tale to our long list of stories. But there's something about this team. There's something about the leadership from the quarterback. There's something about the spirit from the coach and the way they're playing that, they can overcome these obstacles and win these games, and everything, all that mess is now behind us. That's how we're starting to feel. So I like to think that, this team kind of represents how Americans want to see football being played. We want to be that underdog. We want to see, the Pittsburgh Steelers, which has been one of the best franchises in football in the last 20 years, really get taken down a peg, right? The Chiefs won last year. Do we really want to see them win again? I would like to see the Browns win this time. So I hope to think that America and the rest of the country and Ashmere's mom are all on my side.
Definitely. And it'll definitely prove parity in the league, which is always good, right? So we want anyone to be able to rise up and have a chance at winning. And the Browns are proving that. But I do want to ask you, because you hinted at it a little bit, the Browns have been through so much this season. Can you take us a little bit through this incredible season that they've had?
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of a big roller coaster when you think of at the beginning of the year, they were struggling. I mean, they got whooped. They got steamrolled by the Baltimore Ravens, who, a lot of people thought they were probably the favorite to win the division at the time, especially. I mean, Lamar Jackson coming off an MVP season. That defense doesn't quit. They've had our number since I was a kid. So it was like, man, maybe Baker can come out here and the team come out here and we can try to do something, but it just seemed like same old Browns after losing to the Steelers for the Ravens. Got whooped by the Steelers again. We're thinking, man, we can't catch a break. We did have some good wins against the Cowboys. We saw Odell really have some big plays, and we thought, okay, maybe we're coming away with something here. And then they started getting some small wins. But that early in the season, we had these big whoopings, and then we played the Cincinnati Bengals, and Odell got hurt. And Baker Mayfield started the game 0-5, and he threw a pick. His very first pass was an interception. Odell got hurt in the same play, and it felt like a knife in the gut, and it hurt. And then in that same game, Baker throws 20 straight completions. The only complete incompletion he had, it was to spike the ball, and he throws a game-winning touchdown to a rookie wide receiver and Donovan Peoples-Jones. And it felt good. I know it was the Bengals, but it felt good, and that was a turning point of the season where we got some wins against the Texans, we got some wins against the Eagles. Kind of felt like we were maybe stealing those because they were close games. And then towards the end of the year, we're playing some bigger games. We're playing the Titans. We got to win against the Titans. Week 17 against the Steelers. I know the Steelers have their JV team in, but we needed to get a win, and they got the win. So it was a roller coaster. But ultimately, I feel like I felt like that Bengals game early in the year was a turning point, and then we really turned on the Jets and came away with some big wins. And, the Bake Show, as I like to say, really had a good last third of the season.
The Bake Show.
So I'm wondering, after all of those intense roller coaster events, like you just said, how can the Browns come out and win against the Chiefs? Like you said, no one wants to see them come back to back. My family's a Raider family. They don't want to see that again. So how can they win?
Well, I think people probably saw this about the Steelers. They thought, well, on paper, the Steelers are probably a better team than the Browns. They have the playoff experience. They do have a better record. Maybe struggled in the llast few weeks this year, but I think these analysts on whatever TV channel want to think like, okay, the Steelers are probably a better team. Let's go with the Steelers, right? The Chiefs are even better on paper, right? So what did it take for the Browns to beat the Steelers? They had to play. This thing sounds so corny, but it's true. They had to play with emotion. They had to play beyond their ability, right? If your linebacker is only so fast, their linebackers have to play faster. If your cornerbacks are so strong, they got to play stronger than they are, right? So they have to play with emotion and really play beyond what their expectations are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, every team going into a playoff game is going to think about themselves, motivate themselves, listen to Wheezy and Drake in their headphones and try to get pumped up wherever they can. But, I think that I like to think that there's something about this team figuring it out towards the end of the year, coming off of this win. Hopefully the Chiefs are rested and out of sync, hopefully, maybe. But on top of that, the X's and O's, obviously, the Browns are getting their best offensive lineman back, who wasn't there last week. They're getting 2 cornerbacks back, our slot corner and their number 1 corner in Denzel Ward, who is, by the way, from Northeast Ohio, a Cleveland boy himself. So I want to see him show out in the field playing cornerback for his hometown team. But yeah, I mean, obviously, we want to see the offense continue what they're doing. Control the game, control the clock, control the ground game to open up the play action for Baker Mayfield. But the defense is really we got to worry. I mean, there's nothing but track stars on the outside of the Chiefs. Hopefully, with a healthier secondary, we can slow them down. But that's a tall task to ask.
I agree that the Browns definitely have a chance, but there is a Steelers player who doesn't agree with you, and I'm just going to share what he had to say.
Bad loss, but Browns are going to get clapped next week, so it's all good.
So that was Chase Claypool. He was a great receiver in fantasy, but maybe not so well liked now by the Browns fan base. So he thinks they're going to get clapped. Gabe, what do you have to say back?
The game, he played last week. He's not playing this week, right? So it comes off as salty, and to me, it comes off as corny. So like when you're in high school and you're in the basketball arena, and our very okay basketball team is playing. Our student section is trash talking their student section, and they say something. The ultimate silencer of a chant is scoreboard, right? And it's weird to talk trash after the fact, right? So it would have bothered me maybe a little more on Saturday before the Browns game. But
that was a great nostalgic reference you just made. I love that. Because my high school team sucked, so it was us.
Well, don't tell your mom, because she's going to use it against you when the Browns beat the Chiefs this weekend. So, bring it back. I mean, bring it back to the days of layup lines and again Drake and Wheezy on the stereo system. So that's what's going to happen again. I mean, I mean that's how it feels. It feels like, dude, I'm not that mad about it. It's just corny. It's weird. But one thing that I think is interesting is. The Steelers, one of the best franchises in football, no doubt about it, right? They got 6 Super Bowls in this team, and this current regime with Mike Tomlin were very good. I mean, they're always a contender, even when you don't think they're a contender. They're a contender. And Ryan Clark, who was a defensive back for the Steelers, retired in 2015, who is now an analyst for ESPN. He tweeted something along the lines this week of, "Man, I hate this new guard, this new regime, this new era, this new feeling, this new attitude for the Pittsburgh Steelers because it's a lot of trash talking before it happened. It's a lot of it was just weird, right? It's not the way that James Ferrier and Troy Polamalu and Ryan Clark would have reacted and treated their opponents. And I as a Browns fan, I guess I appreciate that. But I think it's a good point that it's just weird and it's corny and lame. So sorry, dude, but I guess you can talk after the game, but you're not playing next week. So hit the links.
See you next season.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And I actually want to so we know that the Steelers they have a wonderful tendency to draft great wide receivers, and we've seen that. But I actually feel like when I think about it, Antonio Brown, Chase Claypool, these are all wide receivers talking. Juju.
Yeah.
So maybe they're a little bit of diva vibes from not necessarily the rest of the Steelers, but maybe their wide receiver room. No offense, guys, but maybe reel it back a little bit,
Yeah.
Start being team players.
Yeah. So until you get the win, right? I mean, I guess when you win, you're allowed to talk trash, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it is corny, but after the loss. But I do have one more quick question for you, since we're all Cleveland here. I actually went Brown today in support, but we were talking a little bit earlier about how we both like Kid Cudi, and he's a Cleveland native. So if you got to hear one Kid Cudi song play during the Chiefs game to get the whole fan base riled up, which song would you like to hear?
What a great question.
Well, I think you know what I'm gonna say, Aryanna. I think you know. But let me just say, he just put out Man on the Moon 3. He has Show Out with Pop Smoke on it, and that one's great. And I've been listening to it nonstop. Which it seems like we want to get something new in there, but you can't go against Cleveland as a reason, right? You can't go against Cleveland as a reason, right?
That's my choice.
Yeah.
She knew it.
Cleveland
you guys
is
cheated.
the reason. Yeah.
Cleveland is the reason.
We were talking about Cleveland is the reason, right? And he's proud, and I feel like everyone should be proud. And I appreciate, people like you and every Browns fan that has just held steady for the past 25 years and hasn't given up. So kudos to all of you guys. You waited until you guys were good, and finally the day came. So there's a payoff.
Yeah. Hey, it's a long, tough road, but it's the only road I want to be on. This is my team. This is my city. I will pull for them. I tweeted last week. I said, the day after they won, I tweeted, I have always loved the Cleveland Browns. I will always love the Cleveland Browns. I just love them a little more today because they got the win. But yeah, I mean, we've been through it, but I'm always going to, pull for this team, pull for the city, and anybody wants to come along for the ride, you're welcome. You're welcome here.
Well, I'm there. Okay, so we have one last question. So if the Browns do beat the Chiefs, who do you expect to see in the AFC Championship game and in the Super Bowl?
Ooh. Well, I think the storybook, if you're gonna write this with the drama, you're gonna think we're gonna end up seeing the Ravens, division rival, the team that the Browns became when the team left the city, and moved to Baltimore. They became the Ravens. So, we had to, if we have to beat the Steelers along the way to the Super Bowl, perhaps they'll have to beat the Ravens along the way to the Super Bowl. There's a storyline of Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson getting drafted in the same year. So I suppose that would be kind of the more dramatic way of finishing the season. And then in the NFC, I mean, I know that they certainly are not favored to get this way, but the Los Angeles Rams actually also originated in Cleveland. The Cleveland Rams moved around. Wow. So, that would also be kind of a weird, interesting, forgotten storyline to play into. So, yeah, I don't know, to play the former Browns and then the former Cleveland professional team in the next two games would be, I guess, kind of cool. But honestly, and I know as a Browns fan, I'm excited. I don't think there's a lot of expectations for the Browns outside of Cleveland. But I don't really care who they play. I just want them to get the win and get the W. And I promise I will celebrate just as hard, whether it's, the Packers or the Rams or the Seahawks or, or whomever, the Steelers, Bengals, Ravens. I will love them and adore them and cheer for them with just as much oomph.
As we could.
Yeah, that would be a perfect storybook ending if it goes as you've predicted, and we hope to see that.
I don't know if that's a prediction. I'm just saying that'd be cool. I don't know if
that would be cool.
He's like throwing glitter in the air.
Yeah.
Yes. LeBron James style with the baby powder.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Well, we're rooting for your team as well, and we just want to thank you for coming on. Thank you so much. We had so much fun with you. We'll definitely have to find a way to bring you back in the off season.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here. Appreciate it. This is fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. That was Gabriel Kramer. As I said, he does public radio and television up in Cleveland, and he's so proud, and we're so happy to have him. But that's our show. So thank you so much for joining us. I want to share one last comment. Favorite duo. Love that. Thank you, Henry. So Henry and Sandeep, two of our friends, and Daniel, they host their own show with Fine Bet, and you'll have to catch them on Saturdays. They broadcast at 5 Eastern time, but they do basketball. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And yeah, have a great rest of your week. And we're looking forward to this. We'll join you next week when we recap this eventful weekend that is sure to come.
Woo!
Woo.
Thanks, guys.